I understand the next call is a split call. Andrew Bailey, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm very pleased to be able to rise to support the Minister of Energy and Resources on this third reading of the Energy Amendment Bill. For me, it's a very easy decision, and I note that it's great that a number of members from the opposition do in fact support the thrust of this bill, including the members from Labour and, interesting, from the Greens, which is fabulous. As many of you have noted previously, this bill is all about New Zealand meeting its international obligations. We cannot and should not contemplate welshing on our obligations as a state. You don't have to go back too far in history to see when New Zealand was worried about having sufficient physical quantities of oil. At this juncture, I want to acknowledge the great New Zealand oil industry, most of it centred around the Taranaki region. This region is generating significant amounts of foreign earnings, and they are to be commended. That industry generates a lot of jobs and supports a growing New Zealand economy. However, whilst our products that we produce are high value, they're not the right type. And that's why we need to look at how we offset that, and this bill is about doing that. We need to address the imbalance, and the sheer fact is that we need to look for commitments around protecting 150,000 tonnes of crude oil and refined products every year. The smart thing about this bill is that we're actually entering into good and innovative procurement processes. By entering into ticketing arrangements, this means that we get the oil requirements that we need in a proper manner. We've also set in place physical back-to-back arrangements with state governments, and I note that we previously have worked with the governments of Denmark and Sweden. This is all about reducing our actual risks around these supply arrangements, which is good business. Specifically, the bill covers three aspects. First of all, it provides for the purpose of the fuel monitoring levy to be extended to quite legitimately cover or meet the Crown's compliant costs. Secondly, it removes the present maximum levy. And thirdly, it allows for the levy rate to be set by order in council. Personally, I cannot contemplate what would happen if New Zealand did not have sufficient oil reserves. As a government, we've been increasingly focused on other forms of energy, and I do note the previous speakers who've talked about the wonderful creative New Zealanders who've been looking at alternative biofuels, whether it been ethanol-based, tallow, or the good work that's been going on at Scion around timber products. All that's exciting stuff, and it shows the dynamism and the inventiveness of New Zealand scientists. But in essence, this is about protecting the fuel that we require for our transport industry, which is still significant and fundamental. And without that, if we do not pass this bill and put in place the adequate measures that we've talked about today, then we're undermining the essential element for the well-being and continued growth of the New Zealand economy. Mr Speaker, I fully commend this bill.